make a few submissions, not only as the chairman Coal India, but because I was associated with power sector for a long time in the government of Andhra Pradesh and then Telangana. I'd like to state that you see our per capita consumption of power and compare with the per capita consumption energy of the other countries. We are barely crossing the 3 digits to 4 digit today. Not all the states have gone into 4 digits. And when we are talking of China of 3 billion, we are also talking of China which per capita consumption is above 3,500 units. There are different statistics, but even the conservative statistics is 3,500. Canada, which of course we normally don't compare because of the cold, and which propels the kind of energy consumption, is around good about 20,000, around 18 to 20,000. US is far ahead in around 14 to 15,000. And in India, we are still at a miserable low figure. And this can only go up. One of the theories that is also bandied around is if we have to grow GDP at a eta percent, then our energy growth has to grow plus eta plus 2%. So all indicate that unless there is energy, unless there is power that drives the energy, the momentum of economy will not come. So it is the energy which in Newton's second law is the force that will drive the growth of the economy. So then the question comes, what will be the anatomy of the energy? As was pointed out by my senior colleague, Mr. Partha Bhattacharya, that given the present situation today, given that the chance of migration and velocity of migration to other stratagems of energy does have its limitation, by ensuring the energy growth to remain as high as we want it is and the GDP growth to remain as high as want it is, the coal, the source of thermal power, with the kind of thermal power plants that have come up in the country, will continue to be one of the major resources in the foreseeable future. I don't think there will be too much counter arguments to this at this point of time. But I'd also only like to mention to you that the market and the conditions of the market, it takes what is best for it. And that is why you see in some parts of the world, the 3-4 strategies that have come to dominate the kind of energy market is having profound impact on the matrix of power. First, you look at energy efficiency. Dr. Ajay Mathur, one of the most acknowledged authorities on the subject, he spoke before us. And when it comes to the energy efficiency, the India for the last 10 years, with him also as a commander of the system, had been strongly looking at energy efficiency. Today we are midst of a LED revolution. Even Coal India with all its, bulbs are going to become LED across India. So primarily we are trying in all ways and by all means to consume less and less energy. This applies to industrial sector, which have standards set by the BEE, which they can follow to bring down the energy consumption, reduce friction, improve motors, improve wirings, improve connection. We are trying to bring down the energy consumption. We are going for rooftops, solar rooftops. And it is a documented fact that by individuals resorting to solar rooftops, Many of the countries across the world, some of the discoms had to close shops because there was no need for the discoms. Some of the super discoms came into effect who could manage to stabilize the power feed-in from the rooftops and giving the power in residual time to the households. Why I am trying to tell you all this is, what happened somewhere yesterday can happen here tomorrow. So I am only talking of the challenges. There are transmission technologies which are bringing down the transmission loss. Even in India, the people are looking at materials like Invar, which will make the elongation, the sag factor, almost disappear, and as a result, transmission loss go down considerably. Distribution loss is another area which discoms are realizing with increasing pain. The feeling was there, but now let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, across India efforts are on to bring the distribution on par because the pressure on the discom from alternative power is becoming very high. By suitably interpreting the section 42 of the Electricity Act, people are going in for more and more competitive power. Till now, when we have been talking of merit order dispatch, the merit order confined itself to buying from the generator. So whoever gives power or energy at a cheaper cost at bus from the generator, that power was being purchased except for the renewables. But increasingly, for you also, at your consumption center, the feeder line that fits you, the merit order dispatch and distribution is also going to become significantly important. And I'm also very happy to say that West Bengal is one of the leading states which has taken the merit order distribution to a much bigger logical conclusion than many of the other states in this country. So you see, there is rooftop solar, gives the individual access to instant power and allow him to decide how he will use. The less consuming apparatus like LED and other equipments which will bring down the energy demand, unnecessary energy demand, losing energy demand. And in conjunction with that, the distribution companies are going in for primary interventions which will reduce the distribution loss. As a result, what will happen is, by reducing the loss economy, by embarking on the path of efficiency, we will be getting the same kind of GDP growth, but we won't require that kind of traditional energy growth to sustain that kind of GDP growth. That is one submission I am making to this August group. Secondly, when we come to this conventional energy sector, people have been talking about coal, people have been talking about gas. But if you really read the present contemporary literature on the subject, some of the contemporary literature is saying that even the exploration, even on the gas sector, is becoming very expensive to sustain the economic challenges that will come in the energy sector. I am not going to say that gas will not grow. What I am only trying to say is the market will recognize the cost effectiveness in the days to come and the ecological compliance in days to come to see which power is merit order power. Merit in energy will not come only from economics. From the present generation, merit in energy will also have the tinge of the green in it to sell itself to a very discerning kind of customers. That is where, when we are talking of coal, we will have to talk about Halley. I am not talking about Halley's comet, but I am talking about Halley. high efficiency, low emission technologies in coal burning. That means when we talk of burning the coal, we will have to look at technologies which are highly efficient and which are characterized by low emission. And let me tell you friends, the world is looking at such technologies. We had a meeting in Poland. Poland is one of the very few countries in Europe which completely believes in coal. But they also felt that it is in the burning of coal, that is, it is a thermal technology. We will have to really look at the heli as one of the saviors of the technology. We have been India, we have been doing it, we have come out with critical, we have come out with supercritical. 800 megawatt technology is also getting stabilized in India. High capacity transmission is getting stabilized in India. Skin impedance is getting reduced. So we, still with the lowest kind of contribution to carbon concentration arising out of our economy, we are an alive economy to these challenges of the world. As the leading democracy of the world, we are second to none in not being responsible and responsive to the challenges that face us. That is why from Coal India we look at mining, we also look at the sustainability of mining. We try to see when we are doing open cast mining, whether the overburden can be utilized for any other purpose. And let me tell you, in Singrani Colliery, where I was there previously, this overburden by certain treatment is used as sand. So friends, the overburden removed by coal mining from the earth, which is considered to be changing the earth, but it prevents the sand mining of the river. That sand comes to even for housing technology after it got vetted through JNTU in collaboration with CVRI. What I am trying to tell you is that when we do each of our activity, we will have to understand the spin-off effect of the activities. That is why the government of India has rationalized the kind of linkages, so that coal has to traverse less and less and consume less and less diesel, which again contributes to the carbon footprint. It not only makes the landed feedstock of the coal cheap, but it also, as I said, there are two markers. One is the economic marker, the other is ecological markers. In some parts of the world, they combine the cost. We are not doing it. On merit order is not still doing it. But we are alive to the situation. So as a result, whenever we are doing strategy, we are doing the economic strategy without forgetting the ecological strategy. When we are looking at the issues of efficiency, we are going for a stronger element of biofuel blending in all our operation. So that at least the diesel consumption we can reduce to the extent the engines of India can permit it. All of us, in all our activities, we can remember economics and we can remember the green economics. The challenge is, as somebody said, synergization of the two. Let us take the pledge in today's conference that each one of us in our activities will be alive to the changes that we require to effect to meet the challenges of the world. And let us be all ambassadors of the awareness. And let us remember Rabindranath Tagore and say, Ore Nobin, Ore Amar Kacha, Admorader Gha Mere Tui Bacha. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir. That was really a very balanced view, and thank you for enlightening us about the clean coal technology. We all, I can commit, we'll all take the pledge along with you. You did mention about economic feasibility and the cost factor, and fortunately, we are very, very happy and fortunate to have Mr. Anil Razdan, the former Power Secretary, Government of India, a stalwart in the power sector in the country, who has worked in the power sector for a long time. He is amongst us this morning, and we would now request Mr. Razdan to address the conclave. Mr. Razdan, please.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Minister, distinguished Dais speakers, office bearers, and a very distinguished audience. In fact, all of us, I think, are participants in this very significant subject that has been taken up today. The topic that I am to speak on is a balance between conventional and renewables for India's energy basket. But then it puts a very simple rider in front of it, and that's economic feasibility. Sometimes the simplest of topics are the most complex ones to speak on. So ever since I thought I was asked to speak on it, where do I begin and where do I end? I think at the end of the day, it all depends on what you put as a cost. What is the cost? Is it a fuel cost, equipment cost, capital cost, which is a normal economic functioning, or does it even include environment cost? It's a whole concept of what do you include in a cost. And if you say merely economically feasible, then I think we know quite clear that if there is no life, if there's devastation, there can be no greater economic disaster for that. But the flip side is that what is good is not always affordable. And the poor know it better than most of us sitting in this audience. We are very fortunate to have options. The poor have no options. And that is where, unfortunately, as far as the power sector is concerned, or even the energy sector, in a democracy like ours, the question comes, where economics fails, distinguished elected representatives, present minister excluded, step in to politically guide the economics of a sector. So what happens? That we price power or other energy commodities far lower than their economic value, and we embark on a path of destruction of those entities. Essentially, the whole energy as it is produced is a commercial activity. It's not a God-given. Yes, solar energy is God-given, wind is God-given, but so are the minerals that are lying, like fossil fuels. They're all God-given. We didn't make them. We only extract something better out of, or more useful out of them than what we've been doing. It's quite a paradox. As civilization is moving forward, it is coming back to nature. Gone are the days when your signature worked or your electronic identity. They still look for your thumb impression or what is in your eye. So we're back to nature in many things, because that's what is basic. Now, before we, I think, understand what I'm trying to say, let us, what is the energy scape of this country? So I might like to share with you. Of course, speakers before me have said something, but I think we just quickly put it in perspective. India has 18% of the world's population, is the third largest economy. It's 6% of primary energy consumption, though it has doubled since 2000. Out of our population of 1.3 billion, this is a 2013 landscape which is well audited. 240 million without access to electricity. 840 million people in India use primary fuels. And per capita energy use, this was mentioned, only 33% of the global average. The share in global fossil fuel consumption is only 5%. So India is not one of the culprits. Access to electricity is luckily 18%, but clean cooking is only 33%. CO2 emissions as a share of global emissions, 6%, and CO2 emissions per capita of the global average, only 30%. Now that gives a clear signal that we should not be feeling very guilty about what is happening and what Mr. Gore has very rightly pointed out, discovered, and put it before us very eloquently, which made us rise to the problem. The other side is, let's see what is India's energy mix by fuel in 2013. Coal was 44% and is projected to go up to 49%. These are IEA projections, not mine, not Government of India's. Oil 23%, out of which 40% is for transport, to go up to 24%. This is a 2013 to 2040 comparison. Natural gas 6% to go up only by 2% to 8%. Nuclear 1% could go up to 4%, a very optimistic figure given the prices of nuclear energy. Biofuels 24% at present, and to go down to 11%, which is a good sign. That means we're getting into commercial energy. Other renewables from 2% to 4 to 5%. Now, electricity, as Sutit and Partha have told us, essentially coal is our mainstay. We've been there because we've reached all these targets that we have achieved, essentially because of coal. And I think we're extremely thankful to the coal industry, and I think to the eastern region, particularly for having given us that vast resource. But what do we move from here? If we look on the other way at the Indian energy basket, as the subject here says, I was looking at some figures, and that is commercial energy really, that most of the time that we are thinking of. In India, the commercial energy consumption was given out as about 524 MMTOE, that's tons of oil equivalent. Crude was 31%, natural gas 9%, hydro only 6%, nuclear 1%, and coal 53%. Now, if we start looking at what are the end-use energy points, the main is coal. Thermal, then gas thermal, then hydro, nuclear, solar, and now also wind and geothermal in due course of time. Here the situation, as far as India is concerned, I think is reasonably well balanced. We are secure on coal, gas, we import quite a lot, though it's a cleaner fuel. Hydro, we've not been able to exploit at the right time. The oldest plants are giving at 24 paise a unit. The newer ones are giving between 8 to 10 rupees a unit. The real devil will lie in tackling transport. Road transport is petrol and diesel driven. Rail transport, electricity and diesel. Air transport, completely fossil fuel based aviation fuel. Waterways, diesel at present, but could be solar power in times to come. But what happens? At the moment we are importing almost 80% of our oil requirement, and the extraction of oil is not going up, in fact it is coming down. And if you look at India's growth projections, again given by the IEA, the highest projection in the world going up to 2040 is in India. Now I think we've got to tackle this point, because if, as is projected, if it's business as usual, no drastic paradigm shift in the way we run transport, we're going to be importing 90% of our oil requirement. Now, that is a humongous figure. We're lucky that the oil prices have crashed. Otherwise, we would have been in a mess. Even today, given the slowdown in industrial demand, in other growth, etc. I come back to coal. Coal has been and will continue to be our energy security. And there are ways to use coal in a more cleaner fashion. And I'm one of those who says that you're collecting now 400 rupees per ton of coal extracted or imported. The first claimant should be cleaner coal. And not only cleaner coal, coal not only for electricity, coal to liquid, coal to gas, and coal to fertilizers. Because all these end products at the moment are imported. And we have to look at ways in which we can prepare ourselves for a secure future just in case the prices go up again. Hydro is essential, but it's a state subject. Most hydro projects are stuck, either for environmental reasons or states not giving the correct approach, and most hydro projects take 10 to 15 years, the large ones, to complete. But the life of an elected government is 5 years. So each hydro developer has to deal with 2 to 3 governments of the day. And that makes things extremely difficult, not to talk of the bureaucracy also in between, which is also going to change. But if we are to move towards renewables, as we are talking, which luckily renewable prices have fallen dramatically to 1/3 of their levels. And the good news I was sharing, at least as far as India is concerned, is with my colleagues on the desk, that the solar manufacturing industry in the world is in deep straits. The prices may even fall further. So I expect solar prices to be coming down from 5 rupees a unit to, well, could be 3.5 rupees a unit. Now that would be good news for India. But the bad news is that if we embark upon a massive solar erection program without a domestic industry of our own, who are we working this program for when we are talking on economic terms? Are we working for foreign capacities lying idle? Are we working for entrepreneurs somewhere? Yes, in a world of global trade, it's politically bad to speak in such terms. But a country which is scarce on resources and has yet to do a lot of catching up, I think has to keep all these factors in mind. The other factor is that it's not simple enough to just to calculate the cost of solar energy as bid out in the bidding process. We've got to add the cost of storage, the cost of re-engineering our grid to be able to absorb that intermittent power,